On a humid spring night in April 2021, the lights inside a house on Stallion Brooks Lane in Spring, Texas, burned late into the night. Loud music spilled out into the suburban street. People came and went through the front door. It was supposed to be just another party, neighbors, friends, drinks, and late-night stories. But by dawn, someone was missing, and not just anyone. Taylor Pomaski, 29 years old, vibrant, social, and sweet-tempered, vanished without a trace. No one knew it yet. But this party would mark the start of a harrowing mystery, a disappearance that would expose secrets, lead to charred remains, and unravel the dark descent of former NFL player. Kevin Ware Jr., once a tight end in the NFL, had seen the high life. He played for the Washington Redskins and the San Francisco 49ers in the early 2000s. At 6'3", 250 pounds, with a muscle memory of a pro athlete, he had the build and background that might have promised a lifetime of opportunity. But for Ware, football was a brief chapter, just 16 games in total. And what came after would reveal a far more twisted path. It began unraveling long before Taylor disappeared. In April 2021, just weeks before the party, Kevin was pulled over by Montgomery County deputies. A speeding violation at first. But when they searched his vehicle, what they found was alarming. A loaded AK-47, a 9mm pistol, cocaine, methamphetamine, marijuana, and ecstasy. For any civilian, this would be catastrophic. For a convicted felon, it was damning. Ware was arrested on the spot and charged with 2 counts of possession with intent to deliver a controlled substance and 1 count of unlawful possession of a firearm by a felon. He was released on bond the next day, but he wouldn't stay out for long. On April 25th, Taylor Pomaski went missing. The last place she was seen alive? That same house in Spring, Texas. The same one where the party was held. The one she shared with Kevin Ware. Reports from attendees began to trickle in. People said the couple had argued violently that night. The tone was aggressive. Screaming was heard. There may have been physical violence. But no one called the police. No one intervened. By morning, Taylor was gone. At first, Kevin told friends that she left in Uber. But when days turned into weeks with no sign of Taylor, people began to panic. Her family filed a missing persons report. Police questioned Kevin, but he offered little. Investigators pressed harder. They noted a long and disturbing pattern between Kevin and Taylor. Accusations of abuse, manipulation, threats. Yet Kevin remained silent, uncooperative. And despite mounting suspicion, they had no body, no weapon, no confession. Could he really have done it? Could a man once cheered in stadiums really be capable of murder? In June 2021, Kevin was arrested again, this time for violating conditions of his bond. He had failed to report to his supervision officer and had tested positive for narcotics. Authorities feared he was a flight risk, or worse, a danger to others. He was taken back into custody. But even then, no charges were filed in connection with Taylor's disappearance. For months, nothing. No major leads. No tips. No Taylor. Then, in December 2021, a grisly discovery shattered the silence. In a remote ditch in northern Harris County, miles from the house party in the headlines, a passerby discovered human remains. The scene was grim. The body had been burned, partially buried. Forensic investigators worked for months to identify the remains. It wasn't until April 2022 that the grim truth was confirmed. The remains belonged to Taylor Pomaski. But how did she end up there? And why did it take so long to find her? By this time, Kevin was already in federal custody for the drug and gun charges. But when news broke that the remains were Taylor's, public pressure intensified. Journalists, podcasters, and TikTok sleuths descended on the case. The question echoed again and again. Why isn't Kevin Ware being charged with murder? The pressure worked. In July 2022, a Harris County grand jury indicted Kevin Ware Jr. for murder and tampering with a corpse. Prosecutors alleged that Ware had violently assaulted Taylor, beating her with a blunt object, stabbing her, then strangling her to death. To cover his tracks, they said, he set her body on fire before dumping it in a remote ditch. The details were horrifying. And yet, through all of it, Kevin said nothing. No statement. No apology, not even a denial. Was it guilt or strategy? He remained behind bars while both cases, the drug charges and the murder indictment, moved through the courts. In December 2022, Kevin pleaded guilty to the weapons and drug offenses. The court sentenced him to 15 years in prison. But the murder charge loomed like a shadow, an open wound for Taylor's family, and a chilling possibility for the public. Would he ever be held accountable for her death? Why did he finally break? On May 7, 2025, after nearly 4 years of speculation, Kevin Ware Jr. entered courtroom in Harris County and quietly pleaded guilty to the murder of Taylor Pomaski. He admitted to the brutal assault, the cover-up, the desecration of her body. The judge sentenced him to 30 years in prison. The sentence would run concurrently with the 15-year federal sentence he was already serving. And just like that, the case was closed. Or was it? For all the answers the plea provided, there remain haunting questions. What happened in the final moments of Taylor's life? Did she fight back? Did anyone at that party suspect the horror unfolding behind closed doors? Could she have been saved? Why did it take nearly a year to identify her remains? And perhaps the most unsettling question of all, how many other women out there have suffered silently, tethered to someone with power, strength, and rage? In the aftermath, Taylor's parents issued a statement. They were relieved that justice in some form had been served. But no amount of prison time would bring their daughter back. No sentence could restore her life, her dreams, her laughter. As Kevin Ware Jr. sits behind bars, stripped of his jersey, his freedom, and the future he once had, the story lingers, not just as a headline, but as a warning. Behind the image of an athlete, there could be something much darker, behind the walls of a suburban home. Something deadly can fester, and sometimes the monster is not in the shadows. It's standing right in front of us.